All right, this might seem like we're going backward a bit. We've talked about oxygen debt. We've talked about other things, aerobic and anaerobic respiration, that look at how muscles use oxygen, how muscles make ATP. But we're back to talking about how muscles respond to a stimulus. If you check out the video that's along with me on this one, you will see some little kids and a skinned up dead frog. He's not gross, he's just there, and some salt and some electricity and what his muscles are up to. So we'll come back to that in a bit, but I do recommend, as long as you're not horrified by like raw meat, you should be okay with this. When we were talking before about the all or none response for a muscle, we were talking about all of your motor units contracting. This happens if you reach the threshold stimulus. Threshold stimulus is a pretty big idea with this. If you stimulate a muscle with electrical current, which is what your nerves do, if you go bare minimum on this, kind of like if I look at you because you're sleeping in class, you might not wake up. It might not be enough. Some people it might, some people it might not. Some people, if I tap your desk, you'll wake up. Some people won't. Some people who are good sleepers might need shaken or sprayed with water to wake up. There is that level of stimulus that's going to do it. So for a muscle fiber to contract, there is a minimum level of electrical current that's needed to make that muscle fiber contract. If you get to that or above, your muscle fiber contracts, and this is how you're able to control the strength of muscle contraction. A single fiber is all or none also, but the term means something a little different. For all or none for a single fiber, if you hit that threshold stimulus, the muscle fiber contracts completely. It doesn't contract part way. So if I want to pick up something, I don't know how heavy it is. I kind of try, and is that right? Was it enough force? It's kind of like if you take the glass and you think the glass is full of water and there's this much in the bottom and you throw it on your face because you don't guess right. Or you go to pick up the bucket that you think has a rock in it and it has 63 rocks in it, so when you lift, you don't lift hard enough. You're able to control how many muscle fibers are involved. Your brain sends an additional stimulus if you need more strength. But for a single fiber, if you hit that threshold stimulus, it contracts completely. If you need a stronger contraction, your body increases the stimulus. This saves you from wasting time with your brain and your body wasting time like, well, do I contract at 62%, 74%? You go for it. You have a complete contraction of the sarcomere, a given sarcomere, or nothing at all. So you don't get a partially contracted sarcomere. You get a few sarcomeres that contract completely. When a muscle contracts, it's the same pattern every time because of this. If you look at this myogram, a graph of muscle contraction, this is a myogram of what we call a single twitch, one response of a fiber. At the beginning, you have the latent period. It's important to know that the latent period is the shortest part of muscle contraction, and if you'll notice, the whole thing is only lasting literally milliseconds. We say a lot of things last milliseconds, but this is literally milliseconds. Following the latent period, you've got a contraction period where the muscle is actually shortening, and a relaxation period then where the muscle relaxes and returns to normal length. You can see these as phases or periods. This represents one twitch, a single contraction, and a relaxation of a muscle fiber. You can also make a myogram for a whole muscle, and that's where I got the idea for the frog thing. When I went to St. Vincent, we had a mammalian physiology class and a mammalian physiology lab. I didn't take the lab, but the kids who did got to pith a frog. Pith is where you take the stick into the brain stem and put Froggy to the big sleep. You put him to the little sleep first, and then you put him to the big sleep. Take the muscle out of his leg while it's fresh and hook it up to two metal uprights. And these uprights run a current through the muscle. And then you measure the amount of force as the muscle contracts and pulls inward on those uprights. It was pretty cool because you'd start with a low voltage, get only a few muscle fibers to threshold frequency, threshold stimulus, and pull in. Increase your frequency, increase your stimulus. More pull, you get more force. Increase the stimulus to a certain point, you'll keep getting more force until you've hit the threshold stimulus of all the muscle fibers in Froggy's little leg. and that's your maximum muscle contraction. Kids were writing a 58-page lab report on it. I didn't know what they were doing because they just said it's the frog leg lab. But once I found out, it was super cool that they were using real muscle, stimulating real muscle with electricity, like bzzzt, electricity, and having the muscle contract. I think that's really neat. So here's your all or none motor unit on the next page. We've mentioned that. Now what's cool is those muscle fibers in a motor unit all run on the same threshold frequency. So they're getting their innervation from the same nerve. You zap it, they contract. All fibers within that motor unit go. That's how that's going to work. It makes sense. You're not deciding. A motor unit is all or none, where all fibers with that threshold stimulus contract or none do. So why isn't the whole muscle all or none? Why don't I have on or off? On or off is a waste of your energy. Now, if I'm going to try to do max bicep curl, if I'm going to do a max curl, I need all my muscle fibers. But if I'm like, I am tough, watch me lift, I'm going to curl this water bottle. There is absolutely no reason for me to be using every fiber in my muscles right now. This thing weighs probably 3 pounds, and I'm using both hands. Oh no. It would be a waste of ATP, a waste of glucose, and a waste of just energy in general, stress on the muscle, if I were to try to recruit every fiber to do this. I don't need to do this. But if I were to need to lift heavier, my body would signal for more motor units. Muscles are made up of a number of motor units, each one responding to a different threshold stimulus. So if the stimulus is low, my body just recruits few motor units. If the stimulus is high, most or all will contract. It's a great plan. You don't have to decide. Your body decides for you, and you don't need to think, okay, I need 9 of the 72 fibers in here. Go for it. Like when I plug in the light comes on. If I plug in a string of lights and all of them are working, I can't decide that like the middle ones don't. That's pretty much what a motor unit does. Here's how you're able to make a stronger contraction. Recruitment. So when I go to lift the bucket and I see someone has filled it with rocks and not told me, I'm able to say, okay, I'm going to try again. And I lift it the second time. Whereas the first time, I didn't realize how much was in it. Recruitment, just like anything. If I have a job that needs done in my classroom, I'm asking one kid first. I'm going to be like, hey, come here. You got study hall, right? Put the kid to work. Recruitment to do an easy job, maybe the kid's dropping 2 things off in teachers' rooms. Cool. But if it's a bigger job, I need more people. I'll ask more people. The concept of recruitment is the same thing that term always means. If I need more, I ask more. Works for your motor units, works for your muscle fibers. If I need to contract more strongly, increase my threshold stimulus, drag in more muscle fibers, and when all motor units have been recruited, the muscle contracts with maximum force. There you go. Recruitment and the muscle. Tomorrow or next time, we got summation. Summation's a pretty easy idea. You add them up. Recruitment leads you into that, and summation will let you have a sustained muscle contraction as well. We are getting to the end of muscle physiology. We've got a few more lectures. We include muscle attachments and smooth and cardiac. So you guys have a test coming up probably within a week. That's great news to end on. See you next time.